Imbolc is upon us, and that little sprinkling of spring in the air. Come on, sit down, let's have a chat. So it is Imbolc when this video goes up, and I thought, what better time to sit down and have an old chat with you, myself and Jackie. I mean, I'm obsessed with this mug. So, for any of you that follow the wheel of the year, some of you might not. This video might not be for you, but what I would say is there's like a little sprinkling of wisdom throughout this video. So maybe stick around and just hear me out and listen to maybe some things that I have to say. So Imbolc is traditionally celebrated between the 1st and 2nd of February, right? It is like that transition period between spring and winter. And I know some of us can feel that pressure too, right? It's spring, we need to get right, like straight into it. And I was thinking about it, as content creator, like what, I was sitting down talking to you and kind of giving little tidbits of thoughts and processes and things like that, right? And it got me thinking about Imbolc and like, what does it mean for me as somebody who's definitely a very seasonal being, right? And who does feel the effects of the different seasons coming up. Now, I live in Ireland, okay? So for some of you, I know in the comments have been telling me from a previous video that I put up that like spring doesn't really start for you until March. Like you don't get your daffodils and snowdrops and things like that. Maybe you live in a hotter country, so you're like full-blown summer already. Or maybe you live on the complete opposite side of the world, so that would be flipped in the southern hemisphere, isn't it? So that would be autumn now for you. Would I be correct in saying that? Yeah, so our summer is like year winter. I think that's how it works. But anyway, so Imbolc translates, it's a Celtic pagan Sabbath holiday celebration, whatever you want to put it there, insert the word that resonates with you, right? It means in the womb, or I know some places translate it into in the belly. And so that's like, when we think of the womb, that's the space where, creation starts, right? It's where the start of birth happens. And again, we're not going to get too deep into that, but that is literally what Imbolc is. It's the start. It's the transitioning from winter into spring. So it's not a case of where we're diving straight into that spring energy, right? We're not springing into action as of just yet. We are taking our time. It's a time for like introspection, looking within, preparing. We're preparing for later spring because, it was my deck, the early spring decks video that I did. I'll try and remember to insert it up here. That I had some of you kind of confused going, wait, hold on, it's not spring yet, it's still January. Yeah, it is, but I always like to kind of try and put out, especially deck recommendation videos out a little bit earlier so that, if you're wanting to change up your decks that you're working with, that you kind of have some recommendations to go off of. And so as I've been sitting and thinking a lot about this upcoming spring, I'm excited for it because I'm so sick and tired of the cold and the rain, even though we still get rain in spring and summer and autumn. Like we get rain all the time here in Ireland. It feels like a constant, even though we've had some really good summers, it just feels like we've constant rain or dullness, to be honest. But it got me thinking about Imbolc, and I wouldn't be one for celebrating Sabbaths per se. Probably not the traditional way of how some might celebrate Imbolc. But I definitely find this year I'm leaning more towards traditional celebrations and really diving into my Irish heritage. So if you're new here and you don't know, my mom is Dutch, my dad is Irish, so I have Dutch-Irish heritage. And then just to complicate and add in a sprinkle of chaos. My Oma, my grandmother, is originally from Indonesia, so I have Indonesian, Dutch, Irish heritage. So I have lots of things to be diving into. And I found myself in the last coming weeks really wanting to dive very much into Irish paganism or Celtic Ireland, and just the traditional way of being and certain traditions that would have been done many, 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 many years ago. I don't know. They're not as popular now because obviously, we evolve and we change and traditions change. But I definitely feel there's that draw of going back to the roots, going back to basics, going back to what was, and trying to bring the past to the future. So that's really cool to feel that stir within and wanting to dive into my own heritage. And I wouldn't say I'm all knowledgeable on it. I'm not. I have picked up things along my journey. I've delved into many different topics, but I've always found myself very, very curious about the Sabbats and the celebrations and the different seasons and the transitional periods of those seasons that come up. And so Imbolc is that transition period between our winter to spring, and then we have Ostara, which is then spring, and then we move into Bealtaine. Yeah, Bealtaine or Beltane. And then we have Lunasa, and then so on and so forth. I believe I'm in the right order. Again, I'm not like 100% like knowledgeable. I don't have all this stuff. I do have notes to make sure that I stay to some extent on track. But what kept coming up for me for this Imbolc season is give yourself grace, right? So for January, it was a lot of you're resting, you're taking your time, you're doing all the things to fill your cup. Did I do all of those, you might ask? No, I didn't really necessarily listen to my own advice. But what did happen was, very unfortunately, I actually ended up getting sick last week with a stomach bug, and that like floored me. It floored me for days. So I had no choice but to rest. I really didn't have any choice. I literally had to sit down and just rest because my body wasn't giving me a choice, because I didn't take my own advice. So for future mend, if you're ever watching this back, start taking your own advice for the love of all that is good. Do, because your body will then, start taking charge. And I should have just rested when I needed to rest, but I didn't. And I have an awful habit of pushing through. So for the early spring, I really am feeling that sense of give yourself the grace that you need. And so for everyone, that's going to look completely different. For me, and I'm only just speaking on my own personal experience and how I feel about it, is exploring. I really feel like the start of this spring, I really want to explore different topics, different content creation, different places I might even want to see. But I definitely feel as in exploring my own spiritual path and my practice and what it means for me and how I want it to look moving forward, and the things that I want to get into. Even my space, I find I've actually changed it up a bit. So as you can see, I now have my decks behind me. I wanted to move the energy, even though this is pretty much a new sacred room to me. I had it set up in a way that I thought that I liked, and then I was looking at it, I was like, I don't really like how this is looking. So it's really giving myself the grace and permission, even though you don't need permission, but sometimes we do need somebody else to go, just go do it, or go take a rest. Why are you constantly doing this or moving all the time or feeling the need to be productive, right? I mean, I've touched upon that before, that as society, we feel like we have to constantly hustle, we have to constantly grind, because if you're not, you're just not successful, you're not motivated, you're lazy, and you're just no good. When did that become a thing? When do we lose that connection of community and connection, and spending time with those we love, from family to friends to whatever may be the case. Could be spending time out in nature and just being one, right? And that's where I feel like, again, I'll always reiterate this, is that we can learn a lot from nature if we just take the time to listen. Again, I know we live in a very fast-paced life. There's a constant go, go, go. There's like, the constant need of trends and keeping up with the Joneses, and just overwhelming amount of information constantly coming at us. I mean, I know right now everything is just every which way, and we don't know what way to turn. Sometimes we just want to turn our phone off, call it a day, and be like, I'm done. So that's what I love about Imbolc. It's that in-between state. There's something so beautiful and thought-provoking, and what's the other word I'm looking for? Like, just that in-between state. So we're not still in winter. We're not fully out of it. But we're not fully in spring either. So the daffodils are kind of slowly blooming here already. Now, I think it's a little bit early, but, again, nature will do its thing, right? It has no timeline, right? It goes by how it goes, really. Nature is a cycle. It goes in the cycle that it follows. And I feel like we should do the same. So this is all about giving yourself the grace to flow through that cycle, and to allow yourself that space and that time to explore. I really do feel like this Imbolc especially is all about exploration and preparing for spring, for summer, and the moving energies and the different things that are coming up for us. You might feel yourself drawn to many different aspects and exploration and things that you want to dive into. I would say allow yourself the time. Again, I'm aware we all have like busy lives, right? We all have lives outside of social media, and we have, commitments, kids, pets, family, other things that we need to take care of. But what I would say is try and dedicate a little bit of time every week to the certain thing that you want to look into. So whether it be looking into new courses, maybe you want to start exploring social media yourself, or something in your own practice that you're really wanting to dive into. Maybe it's a deck exploration that you've been wanting to do. I know I've been itching to do a deck study with like the longest of time. I just haven't carved out the time. So again, I'm not any different to any of you, right? Again, commitments, and then getting sick. So I know a lot of you might have like illnesses, and, even, what's the other word I'm looking for? Just different things that might slow you down. I don't want to say stop you, but like slows down the process of being able to dive into this. And so with Imbolc coming up, it's that great time to allow yourself, and especially with the way it's falling. I believe it's falling on a Saturday, so today is the day that this is going up. It'll be Saturday. So, a lot of us might have a little bit more free time at the weekend. So maybe you want to do like a ritual for Imbolc. That'd be really, very cool. Or maybe start kind of slowly setting them goals, kind of exploring again. Exploration seems to be like this big theme that keeps popping up in my mind, that you're just exploring and you're allowing yourself that time. Another thing that I want to touch upon, actually, because I have her up there on my altar and you can see her deck right there, is Goddess Bridget. Now, here in Ireland, they call her Saint Bridget because that's just the way Ireland has evolved and changed over time. But there was a time that she was a goddess, and I'll always see her as a goddess. I can definitely honor and respect the saint aspect of it, but for me, it's goddess energy. It's that divine feminine. A lot of people claim she's, that very fiery energy, and I can't remember, and I couldn't find the post of where it was on how she's not just a fire energy. She's very much the reminder and the gentle energy of transition and change, and the waking up, the slow waking up of spring, and taking our time to ease in. I need to take a sip of my coffee. You can't see Jackie. Now you can see Jackie. Hydrate. She says hydrate and she's drinking caffeine. Bit hypocritical, isn't it? But anyway, drink whatever beverage that you're drinking. But we notice that change as well within the days, right? Slowly but surely, the days are getting a little bit longer. I know here in Ireland, like the sun isn't setting as early. The sun is rising that bit early. But sorry, I distracted myself with Jackie Daytona. But the goddess Bridget is just, I just love her energy, and I just don't feel like enough really talk about it. I wouldn't say, again, I'm not claiming to be all knowledgeable or know all about Saint Bridget. There you go. That's just ingrained now. But Goddess Bridget. But I definitely feel that there's that not uprising, increase of love for Goddess Bridget and wanting to tap into that divine feminine energy and how she's like the protector of homes and the arts. So that's all creation, right? And so again, we're looking into different things that maybe might want to explore, right? And she's that reminder that light always returns to darkness, right? Darkness does not last forever. And it's just the process. Sometimes we have to go through the darkness to be able to appreciate and then experience light. And then we've lessons to bring forward. Again, it's all about cycles. So, right, that's a lot to unpack. But I hope that made sense and that the days are going to start getting longer, okay? The sun is going to start setting later, rising earlier, slowly but surely nature is kind of waking up. So I feel like we can learn a lot from that as well, that slowly but surely, it's a gradual thing. It isn't like we wake up and the sun has risen at 6 o'clock and it doesn't set until 11 at night. It's a gradual thing. So this is your reminder for this month moving forward to give yourself grace. Okay? It's a gradual process. Things don't just happen overnight. They take time. Like nature, we too will gradually wake up our energy, will gradually get there. But again, I've said it. It's a gradual thing. So, as always, I hope you have a wonderful day, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. Remember, stay magical. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We're pretty awesome here, if I do say so myself. And I'll see you all in the next video. Bye, guys.